Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me today. Today I'm making some really fun tags, and I am going to use the Bergenia die from Pixi Dust Designs to create these flowers. And so my idea originally was to create a card with all three of these on, but because they are a little bit busy, I went ahead and decided to make tags out of them. But I started out with a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I have spritzed that with water first, and then I'm taking different distress sprays and just having a little bit of fun spraying that color on there. And so far I have used Salvage Patina, Twisted Citron, and I want to say Mermaid Lagoon, and then this is the Kitsch Flamingo. And I tend to prefer using the distress sprays instead of the oxides, just because the sprays are brighter and they don't have that kind of chalky look to them. And so I will usually use the sprays over the oxides. Not to say that I don't like the oxides, I do, but I just really like the bright colors that the sprays give. And so I'm just kind of randomly putting the color on there, trying not to mix the colors too much that don't mix well together. But you'll see when I'm kind of at the end of this that some of the colors do mix together, and it ended up turning out all right. So I went ahead and I blotted off a little bit of that excess ink, and then I will go ahead and start adding some more colors. I believe this is the Concord, I don't remember the name of it. It's a really pretty purple color, and I'm going to spray that and then add some more water, and then keep on just adding a little bit of color here and there until I've got something that I'm happy with. And that is I'm at that point right now, and I'm going to take my heat tool, and you'll see that there is like a big streak of kind of the, I don't want to say ugly color, because I don't think any color's ugly really, but where the colors have mixed together and basically created black. And I think it looks really cool when I'm trying to dry it, because it makes the colors stand out really nicely. But I went ahead and I dried it a little bit, blotted the color off, and then I set the paper aside to dry for a little bit. And once it was dried, I came back to it, and I'm putting a little bit of gesso on my craft mat. And I'm just taking this, I believe it's a Vicky Bouton tool, but really you can take anything, a credit card, anything with a kind of an edge to it, or anything that's kind of plastic, where you can spread the gesso. And I know this is going to look really ugly and messy at first, but when it's all said and done, it looks really nice. I like to add gesso when I feel like there's too much color, and so I feel like I need to add some white to knock out a little bit of that color. And so I've added some of the gesso, just doing a dry rub, and also through a stencil, just to break that up a little bit. And then I feel like I added too much white, and so I did add some more spray back on top of that. And then I'm using a little bit of that leftover gesso watered down to create some splatter. And once the paper has dried completely, again, I went ahead and I just cut it in half so that I could place the dies on the paper and get that through my Big Shot machine. And so I'm just going to take the dies, and again, this is the Bergenia set from Pixi Dust Designs, and there's several parts to it, but it's super easy to put together. And so I've gone ahead and I've cut multiple pieces out. So I believe in total I make four, or I cut 4 flowers out of that. Maybe it's 3. And then I'm just going to start assembling these. But before I do that, I wanted to kind of trim off the edges a little bit. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to take a marker, and I'm using a Staedtler black marker, but I would have, if I had known where my black Sharpie was, I would have used that. And basically all I'm doing is tracing around the outside, And I don't want all of the color just to be on the edge, and so I am trying to put a little bit of that black so that you can see it on top. And I'm going to do this process for all of the entire flower, as well as the stem and the leaves as well. And here is the card that I made originally. And basically what I did was I trimmed out the edges with the black, and then I drew some doodles on it and used a little bit of a white gel pen as well, just to add a little something to it. And so that's where I got the idea for these flowers, except I didn't want to place all those doodles. I wanted it to be a little more clean, I guess, and so I went ahead and I skipped that part. But these are really super easy to put together. The stem has two separate leaves that you can use them or not use them. You can pop these up or not pop them up. I just went ahead and cut them out of different colored paper so that they stood out a little bit. And basically what it's supposed to be is like the underside of the leaf. And then for the center of the flower, there are two dies for that, so there are two parts, and I did that in black, and then the center part I did use that paper that we colored with the distress sprays. And then to put the flower together, it's really easy. You're just going to take the petals, and these petals only fit one way, so you know exactly where to put each of those. And so that's going to be kind of in the back, and then there's going to be the front piece, which has kind of the biggest petal, and then this little petal will be adhered to the front. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere the middle portion. And then this is a part that you can pop up. You really, like I said, you can pop up any of these pieces to add dimension. I didn't do that with these flowers, but it can definitely be done. So I just went ahead and adhered everything, and then I'm putting a little bit of glue on the edge of the stem, and that's going to finish off the assembly of the flowers. And I really love how these turned out. Like I said, I was going to make a card and put them all on it, and I just couldn't figure out a way to do that and have it look nice. And so that's why I opted to do the tags, which is great. It ended up working out really well because it gave me a chance to use all of the leftover pieces of paper. And so I'm just going to make one of the tags on screen, and then I'll show you the other two tags that I created. But it's all of the tags are using these leftover pieces. And so what I'm doing with the tag that I'm showing on screen is I thought it would be good to use this part where the negative space for this flower, and then I'm going to, when I adhere it, I'll adhere the paper or the flower to that piece. And so I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of this, and then I'm going to place it on the tag where I want it. And you can see that it covers up the punch hole, but I'll go ahead and at the end take my hole punch and repunch that hole so it could still be used as a tag. And then I'm just going to cut off all of that extra, and I still have extra pieces left that I've put in my little box of extras that I could use for something else. And then all of the tags, I take some of the stamps that I use for mixed media and just adding little details like this. And so I'm taking this one, it has a butterfly on it, and I'm going to ink that up with some VersaFine black, and then I'm going to stamp it off so that it is not as dark as that full stamp would be if you'd stamped right away. And then I'm going to just go ahead and stamp that, and then I will take several of my other little stamps and add more detail to the tag by stamping around. And then I'm taking a little bit of white acrylic paint. This is just the apple barrel, I believe that's what it's called, from Walmart. And I'm going to water that down and add a little bit of a splatter. And I always like to test out my splatter before I actually splatter. And so I'm going to tap that off onto my tag and then add a little bit of a liquid adhesive to my flower. And that's going to go ahead and be placed right in that spot where the tag was originally cut out, or not the tag, but the flower was originally cut out. And then I've just found a sentiment in my sentiment stamps that says hope is never lost, and I have adhered that on the tag. And then I will add my little punch to repunch that hole. And that's going to finish that tag off. And then the rest of the tags I'll go ahead and show you as well. I really love mixed media. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I feel like sometimes I don't do it enough. And so this was a super fun project to work on. This tag right here, I added a little bit of tracing paper, which I love tracing paper too. Added a few stamps to this one. And then the last one is using a bunch of the leftover paper just to add different strips to that background. And again, a sentiment. And I would love to be able to send these out. So if you're interested in receiving one of these tags, my email address is listed in the description of the video below. And so if you go ahead and drop me an email, I will send these to the first few people who request them. International is fine as well. But that is it for my video today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would love a thumbs up. As always, I thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope to see you next time.